was not messaging people the day before saying, I'm going to be murdered. They're coming after me.
Then you have the Times Events reel able to say this. That's the narrative. It was written. This is the perfect screenplay for them.
Charlie Kirk's mom is finally breaking her silence after Erika got caught spinning yet another story about Charlie's final night. And this time, the receipts are wild. What started as quiet whispers has now turned into straight-up contradictions that people can't ignore anymore. The version of events Erika pushed at first is now being questioned from every angle. Erika was already exposed for repeatedly claiming Charlie was fearing for his life, and now critics say she's trying to flip the entire script and cast herself as the brave protector in the room. But here's where it gets even messier. New details just surfaced about a private dinner Erika organized on Charlie's last night. During that dinner, there was reportedly a Zoom call with a rabbi in Israel who allegedly urged Charlie to rethink certain positions he had taken publicly.
I'm just going to jump in here and tell you that's a lie. What we know happens thereafter is Charlie concludes this call with Josh and the rabbi, and then he sends off text messages to his security chief, Dan Flood, also to Andrew Colvett, and he says to them that they are going to kill him.
That detail alone has people raising eyebrows and asking serious questions. The optics don't look good. The timing doesn't look good. And now, many are wondering if that night was more strategic than sentimental. So, let's get into these new receipts and, more importantly, how Charlie Kirk's mom responded when she found out what was being said. It's been 5 months since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and somehow the media spotlight hasn't moved an inch. It's stayed locked on Erika. Back-to-back interviews, formal events, staged photo ops. She hasn't stepped away from the cameras for a second since his passing. Every headline seems to center her voice, her emotions, and her version of events. 3.
Many people know that Charlie sensed that he was going to die tomorrow is an absolute fact. Why these individuals are all being quiet about that is a massive question mark.
But where are Charlie Kirk's parents in all this? That's the question people keep asking. They've been almost invisible in the coverage, and Erika hasn't publicly acknowledged them. Instead, she suggested that her own mother played a major mother figure role in Charlie's life. Now, an insider close to Charlie's mother, Catherine Kirk, says his parents are doing what most grieving families would do, mourning privately and staying far away from the chaos. However, this is where things start getting uncomfortable. According to an insider close to Charlie's mom, what's really disturbing her peace isn't just the media coverage. It's Erika's changing version of Charlie's final days. And it's not small details either. We're talking about major shifts in story.
We always knew that there were people out there that hated us with deep, deep passion of hate. But it didn't scare us. Never. He was never afraid of that. Neither was I. Obviously, we protect our children. You know, we don't show their faces on the internet. If that was our last day, it was our last day. Like, we always lived as if it was the last day. That's why Charlie's speeches were so good. But again, it wasn't anything that, you would think any different.
Nothing acute.
No.
Charlie Kirk's mom reportedly believes her son was deeply shaken toward the end. Not just stressed, not just busy, but genuinely unsettled. And here's the part that has people talking. The insider claims Charlie had allegedly started questioning Erika herself. That's heavy on top of that. The source says Catherine Kirk is even considering sitting down for an interview with Candace Owens to finally clear the air and explain how her son was truly feeling in those last days. Because, let's be real, why does the story keep changing? Why are there now disputes about whether Charlie was receiving serious threats or increasing his security before September 10th? Every time Erika speaks, critics say a new version of events surfaces. It's like trying to piece together a puzzle, where the picture keeps shifting. And nowhere is that more obvious than when people start comparing the different accounts of Charlie's final night. Multiple versions of that evening have circulated, and all of them trace back to Erika herself.
Erika and Charlie Kirk heard about these curses, and that news genuinely rattled Erika in particular. She knew Christian teaching on the subject. She loved Charlie, absolutely. And she was scared when she heard of the curses Jezebel had called up. So much so that she and Charlie contacted a friend who I believe she said was a Catholic priest, but definitely a friend, and asked him to come over and pray with them over Charlie the night before he was murdered. She eventually worked it through, and so did Charlie. That, as she later told me, weapons will form but not prosper. That Satan and those witches have no power.
The first public version came during Erika's September 21st in-person interview with the New York Times. According to the article, on the evening before Mr. Kirk traveled to Utah, he and his wife had dinner in the Phoenix area with a friend described as a faith leader. The purpose was to pray over his upcoming tour of roughly 20 college campuses. The report states that both Mrs. Kirk and the friend were worried during dinner, and that Mrs. Kirk urged her husband to begin wearing a bulletproof vest. That was the official account at the time, but now people are lining up the timelines and asking hard questions. The article continued, saying that when Charlie hesitated about wearing extra protection, the friend suggested he speak behind bulletproof glass instead. That was the first version.
So Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Somebody writes, oh. Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Okay, first and foremost, I just want to say he's so full of crap. The idea that Charlie had just gotten back from Korea and was like, oh, please help me, Josh Hammer. You're a complete idiot. Please help me learn how to speak to college students. Josh Hammer and a rabbi who lives in Israel. Like, there was nobody else available. You know what time it must have been in Israel for him to organize this call? Why is he doing it with this rabbi? Was it Wojcicki, whatever his last name is? You're not going to just call like Dennis Prager, who you're apparently writing a Shabbat Shalom book with? It seems a little suspect. So you're actually clarifying for us something that's amazing. This is a stunning admission, okay? Because we know that when Charlie got off of this phone call, he texts that evening a text message to Dan Flood and Andrew Colbert.
Erika's original claim was that she and this faith leader, whom Megyn Kelly later identified as a Catholic priest, were so concerned for Charlie Kirk's safety that they urged him to take serious protective measures in case someone tried to harm him. That's a pretty dramatic picture to paint. Then, fast forward to September 23rd, and Megyn Kelly shared another twist. She said Erika was allegedly shaken up because of a Jezebel article that mentioned a so-called curse involving Charlie. And that's where people started scratching their heads. Are we really supposed to believe that a random online article is what suddenly made everyone panic? That explanation feels thin. Charlie had controversial pieces written about him all the time, according to Candace Owens, and he never treated those kinds of stories as real-world threats. So, why would this one article suddenly flip the switch and send everyone into high alert mode? It doesn't line up, and here's where it gets even more confusing. During Erika's live interview with Megyn Kelly on November 22nd, the tone completely changed. Now, she was saying that neither she nor Charlie were afraid at all. In this version, September 9th was just a normal night before one of his speaking events. Nothing unusual, nothing tense, nothing urgent. That's a total shift from the earlier narrative.
Candace Owens seized on this totally out of context screenshot of Charlie Kirk being very upset that a Jewish donor was withholding his $2 million donation. And she used this as an attempt to say, oh, Josh Hammer's lying, that Charlie Kirk remained pro-Israel until his final moments.
Yeah.
But she's also holding aside that 2 hours after this screenshot, if you look at the timestamps, 2 hours after that, I and a few others were in a small Zoom chat, a small Zoom call with Charlie Kirk the night before he was killed that Charlie organized. Charlie organized this Zoom call for the express purpose of trying to make sure that he had all the best answers, the best messaging advice for how to speak about Jewish-Christian relations and the Israel question on college campuses.
So, which version is it? Were they urgently discussing bulletproof glass and vests? Or was it just another routine evening? That back and forth is exactly why people are questioning the timeline. But here's the problem. Based on Erika's own past interviews, this latest version just doesn't line up. She told the New York Times that on September 9th, She was so concerned about Charlie Kirk's safety that she urged him to wear a bulletproof vest. That's not a small detail. That's serious. And she didn't stop there. She also said he felt like something wasn't right before the UVU event. In her own words, his adrenal glands were just going off. He got up, and I could hear him eating something in the kitchen. That quote paints a very different picture. It suggests he was restless, tense, maybe even anxious. So, which version are we supposed to believe? Was he shaken and losing sleep? Or was it just another calm, routine night before a speaking event? Because those two stories do not match up. And this is where the narrative starts cracking again. Now, reports suggest something else happened on September 9th that hasn't been fully explained. And according to Candace Owens, it didn't just involve a Catholic priest. There was also mention of a rabbi based in Israel. That detail changes the entire context. Candace shared that on September 8th, Charlie allegedly sent a message saying he was stepping away from involvement in the Israel cause. That's a major move, especially considering the political and donor landscape surrounding Turning Point USA. If true, that's not just a small adjustment. That's a shift with weight behind it. After Candace brought that up publicly, Turning Point-affiliated podcaster Josh Hammer stepped in and clarified that the message was actually sent on September 9th. Following that exchange, Charlie reportedly joined a Zoom call to discuss certain talking points and get guidance. Now, people are connecting timelines and asking what was said, who was involved, and why these details weren't part of the earlier interviews. When you stack all these versions side by side, the timeline feels less like a straight line and more like a maze. But here's where this story takes another sharp turn. Candace revealed that the Zoom call reportedly included a rabbi who doesn't even live in the United States. And according to what she uncovered, that conversation wasn't calm or friendly. It allegedly became heated, with serious pressure being applied. There were even claims of attempted incentives being offered to sway Charlie's position. That's not a small detail. That's explosive. And then comes the message that has everyone frozen. Right after that call, Charlie reportedly texted Dan Flood and Andrew Covey, saying, "They're going to kill me." That's a direct quote that people can't ignore. If that message is accurate, it completely shifts the focus away from random online articles or so-called curses. It suggests his fear, if he had any, may have been tied to something much closer and more immediate. So, the big question is this. Why hasn't Erika addressed that Zoom call in detail? Why has there been no clear explanation about those reported texts expressing fear for his life? Instead, the public keeps getting shifting narratives, half-answers, and contradictions that only create more confusion. That's why people are demanding clarity. Now, Charlie's parents are no longer staying completely in the background. There are strong rumors that Candace may bring Charlie's mother on her podcast to finally share her side. And if that happens, it could change everything because, at the end of the day, people want transparency, not competing timelines. If you've been following this from the beginning, drop your thoughts in comments. Do you think more details are about to surface? Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who needs to see it, and I'll catch you in the next one.